Hello everyone, today we will be discussing how to use pointers in SMB3. So the three things you need to get started making pointers in SMB3 is an emulator. Today we will be using FCEUX. It's a pretty popular emulator. You can use Meson, you can use Nestopia, you can use whatever your heart's desire as long as it plays SMB3 and NES games typically. Or you can actually use your own NES if you have a power drive or whatever to get the game on the NES. Next, you will need a SMB3 ROM. I already copied a ROM to use for this demonstration, and a Workshop. You can also use Foundry, but it's slightly different, and Workshop is the typical go-to for editing SMB3. So I already have Workshop opened. I haven't done anything special, just playing at our level 1-1. So first thing you need to understand is how pointers work. So pointers point to the next section that you will be using for both sprites and the blocks on screen. How the level editor Workshop refers to these is objects and enemies. So enemies are the sprites and objects are the blocks. An object set is basically the tile set. It's just called a weird name for some reason. So you want to see this arrow. What this arrow does is points to the next level. So if you set up, so the first thing you need to do is set up the level to point to a next area. So how you do that is in this screen right here. So there's visual, next area / start, and miscellaneous. So the thing we care about here is the next area. So it says pointer for the next area of the level. I'm going to see two big scary hexadecimal numbers and object set. All you gotta know is this is the pointer. So basically what place in ROM is the blocks going to be loaded from, and what place in memory is the enemies going to be loaded from, and the object set is the tile set. So where do you find these numbers? Like, where is these numbers coming from? Well, it turns out, and then when you select a level, each one of these has an enemy data, an object data, and an object set very conveniently already laid out for us. So basically, okay, game. Let's stay in 1-1. So if you just for an example, let's just change it to sky. Up here, CC1D, and we change this to sky. What's going to happen when we get rid of this guy, we get rid of that, and we get rid of the cloud so we don't override anything. And just change this really quickly. For an example, we will have it so we can, what? They call it something different? Oh, I call it pointers. Okay. So let's just make a save state so we can get to this level quickly and enter this pipe. So what's going to happen is we're going to be on the top left of the screen. As you see, we're on top left of the screen of the sky level, and we are going to fall there. You might be like, why do you show up on the top left of the screen? Well, let's go back to math class. I know that was a scary time, but all you gotta remember is that it's the fourth quadrant, and instead of the numbers being negative, like any of the numbers being negative, you gotta remember that the numbers are going to be always positive. So top left here is going to be 0, 0. So by default, if there's no pointer, so the green box here, if you don't do anything with this, typically you're going to land up here on the top left. It's just how SMB3 was made. That's basically all you need to know. A fun fact about this is if you decide to make a there's one exception to this that's kind of weird, and I would definitely highly recommend that you make sure you do not have this in your ROM hacks. Is red invisible note blocks that go nowhere. These are very bad because basically how these check if you're going anywhere is if you are going up. If you're going up, you will continue to warp even if you already warped. So for this example, we're going to be top to the left, but because, well, we didn't set up a warp, but it would have continued to warp over and over and over again, and that would have just basically hard locked you in that location. Unless you have a save where you can like pause the game and like exit, then I guess you could go back. But basically, it's going to ruin your day. So make sure those point somewhere. Beyond that, there's really nothing else you need to understand here. Visuals will not do anything for you besides change how the level looks that you're already in. And the same goes for miscellaneous. So just ignore those. And now we will need to start pointing. I recommend you always make a new pointer unless there's already a pointer there. The reason why is a workshop is quite finicky. Actually, I don't want to use this clown. You want to make a new object, so the object's on top. I don't know why, but typically when the object's on top, it makes everything work better. You don't have to change any of these values. Highly recommend you don't. And you're going to see number 78. So you see some values here, and you're like, what is inference horizontal? Well, if you think about this, I personally just want to keep this on a 0 to 15 scale, or a 0 to 14 scale if you're using horizontal levels. If it's vertical, I guess it's 15. The reason why is that's how many the maximum number of screens you can have. You can only have 15 screens starting from 1, so that would be 13 screens if we start at 0 when programming. So basically you have 14 screens to work with a horizontal level. The reason why you don't have 16 real screens, unlike like Super Mario World, is due to RAM limitations of the NES. But in vertical levels, due to having less blocks, you can have all 16 screens. So the pointer here is going to have this number, and you see when we do this, it only changes the high digit, or the second digit of the number, and it's hexadecimal. And what that means is wherever you are in Mario space, there's an X value, and you got to convert that value to hexadecimal. So all you really need to do here is basically divide wherever the block is. So this block right here is at X22. So let's just put this block right on back. So X22 divided by 16 is 1 point something. Okay, I don't know what the something is, but it doesn't matter. All you gotta know is you start from the left, and because it's 1, we click the arrow 1 time. If it's 2, you click it 2 times. If it's 5, you click it 5 times. That simple. From there, you're gonna have it. You're gonna probably have to do all these at once. The next simple one to understand is this exit after. This just tells the game what you're going to do next. So let's make it an upward pipe. Okay. So now we have this exit. Actually, we hit the wrong one. So let me put that back. Okay, so this one has a question mark. We don't want a question mark. Let's just make an upward pipe. Okay, you can make it anything. If it's a pipe, you cannot make it a door. Okay. So don't do that. So make it a pipe if it's a pipe, a door if it's a door. Just stay consistent. So the next, did I change this one? Yeah, I did. So I'm just going to change this back to 7, whatever it was. And I'm going to make this 1. So 1 time. So the exit horizontal is the x-axis. And this is in hexadecimal, so you're going to have to convert again. And now you're actually going to have to be kind of precise. So let's just say, I'm going to say 8. And again, because we start on the top left, you probably want this number to be pretty high. 9 times out of 10. So from here, we want to basically be worked out, I want to say, probably in this block. Or no, I don't think we're going to be warped down. I think we're going to be. So let's use this block right here. I said 8 and 22. So it's probably going to work me out right here. I've changed it to a pipe. It should show up right there. So let me move this to the side, and then make this become a pipe. There we go. Let's load that up in the emulator. And moment of truth. Worked perfectly. Now obviously, when you get started, you're probably not going to be able to eyeball it like that. Take some practice. But that's the general rule of thumb. So now that we know how to do the basics of like pointers and getting the pointers to line up, I want to explain some other details that are fun. So with pipes, this is a problem that you're probably going to run into. You might have already ran into it, and I'm sorry that I didn't mention this earlier. There's this pipe called Mr. B. Okay, Mr. B is a bee, and it ignores pointers. If you look down here in the bottom left, next to the 3-byte objects and the X and Y position, it says it ignores pointers. What do you think that does? Well, let's test it out. So we already know it works. So let's see what happens. You can be perfectly correct, and you get sent to the land of speckles. This is the land of speckles. It's a sad place. Don't go to the land of speckles. Instead, use the pipe that does not ignore pointers. It's not going to say that. It's going to say you can go in. That's it. If it says anything else, you should not use that pipe. You may wonder what those pipes are used for. They are used for specific levels to bring you to basically to the end of the level. And that was just a tactic Nintendo used to get over the limitations of the level. But for typical use, you don't really need to know how to do that, and that would get into a bit of a messy session that I don't really want to talk about today, and it's a bit out of the scope for this video. You just know, use the regular pipes that you can go into. Should say that. Another thing I want to mention, if you already set up a pointer and it begins not working, there's a possibility. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but you may have overrode your level. So the pointers of levels, so this next area, the level of the area, are the first 4 bytes of the header, and the header is basically the prefix to any level. And how you override levels is you start at the beginning of the code for the level and then move to the right. So and this is just for the object data, quote unquote, so this is the block data. So if you use too many 3 or 4 byte objects, you will run into this problem where you override another level. First thing to go out of that is the pointer for the next area. You can actually save some space if you don't care about warping to the next area, or that you can save 4 bytes. I don't recommend you do that. I'm just saying you can do that. And that tells the game where to warp to. So that would be the first thing to go. So I would definitely recommend, if you think you want a little bit close to the border of overriding some levels, and you're having a problem in a level, I definitely recommend you do check to make sure the pointer is still warping to the right space. So let me show you how to find the right space again. You're going to go to the level, you're going to hit select level. You should probably save before you do this, but I feel pretty confident that we're not going to override anything. You're going to use the object data here, and you're going to use the enemy data right there, and you're going to use the object sec. So this is C1D 23 3B8. Okay. Look here, CC1D 23 3B8. Okay, and it's for a sky. Okay, so it has to be the exact same. If it's off by 1, bad things will happen. So don't be off by 1. So you may wonder, how do I know if I'm overriding data. So there's this lovely sheet. It should be posted in, I think, in the help section by forget who posted this, but it gives you all the important data. So if let me scroll to planes. So 1-1, it tells you where it is, and all the important information, every single level. And this gives it in a nice early fashion, so you know where things will override, I think. Not precisely in order, but it gives you a pretty good detail of where things are. So like the first thing, if you're gonna, so let's just say you used 1-1 and its subsection. If you put 1 extra byte into 1-1, so let me make a new ROM again. So I'm gonna delete old ROM, rip ROM. Let's just make a new one. Let's call it pointers. Let's close workshop. Yes, I do not want to edit. Let's open workshop again. Let's open pointers again. Okay. Let's open FCUX. Let's open up pointers. Let's play the level. Actually, yeah. I think I need the good old leaf. Oh. That is quite problematic. So you do need to leave for this. What? Koopa not respond. How is this Koopa not responding? So I think we can do it over here. Just trying to show off the warp zone. So we should probably not. I think the game will crash. So it works perfectly fine, but if we warp here, because we added a blocking overrode some of the level, it crashes. So basically, all you need to know here, out of the spreadsheet, is you see this number of bytes. So how you get the number of bytes per level is 3-byte objects, the amount of 3-byte objects. So in 1-1, 82 times 3, so that's going to be 246 times the for the 4-byte objects, it's going to be 4 times the number of 4-byte objects you have. So that's going to be 4 times 5, which is 20, and we had 246, so it's going to be 266, which I believe was off by 3. Oh, that's because I added this object. So if I got rid of that object, it would have been 263. And since we went over that number, it's going to link into the next level, which happens to be 1-1B, and it took away the first 3 bytes of that level, which unfortunately happened to be. So if we go here, it should not be. Yeah, you see it no longer has the pointer up there. It shows that we warped anywhere. So you will have to reconnect that level if you want it to work. And with that, I would also recommend you don't put anything on the edge, especially the red note blocks. But there are various ways you could probably warp unintentionally to an undesired area, which could allow cheese in your ROMs if you do not put them, like, I would say at least give it 2 blocks of space between the edge. And it also just makes it so you don't have trouble. If you happen to do your math slightly wrong, it should still probably work. But with that, let's just recap real quick on what we've discussed today. Object, enemies, and object set. All that means is blocks, sprites, and tile set. Blocks are what makes the level. This begins with this header at the bottom. You don't really need to know what that means. All you gotta know is that this needs to be, this right here, enemies and object set, need to be the exact same as whatever level you want to go to. If you want it to be 403, you're gonna have to make it 21, 6E5, C8, 73, and 3 hilly. Then after that, you're going to need to set up a pipe. Make sure it is not, I repeat, not the B pipe. This B pipe is a B. Do not use this pipe. It ignores pointers. You do not want it. Never use that pipe. Instead, use the 90s. This pipe will use your pointers, so use that pipe. Then from there, you need to align it with the screen you want on. So take the number of the X value where the pipe is, divide that by 16. The high number should be the second digit of the entrance horizontal. Exit horizontal is the X value you want to exit at. The X vertical is the vertical. Keep in mind this starts from the top as the lowest number and works its way down as the highest number. And the exit action is the action that happens when you go to the next sub area. Another note is pipes cannot become doors, and doors can't become pipes, so don't make that just make sure you actually do the exit action that kind of makes sense. So if it's a pipe, it should probably stay as a pipe, and so on. And yeah, make sure the red note blocks are not cheesable. You can, I think it's 2 or 3 blocks you can go, so be extra careful with those. But with that, hopefully this has helped you get better at pointers and at least understand the key concepts. And stay awesome, be awesome, see you next time.